Sudan, October 2025. A massacre takes place when the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces attack the city of al-Fasher in the Darfur region. Since April 2023, a brutal power struggle between two rival generals has torn the country apart. Human rights groups call it genocide.
Now we are seeing body piles visible from space.
But this is not just a civil conflict. It's a proxy war fueled by external players and a thirst for profit.
Outside powers have made everything worse in Sudan.
Around 12 million people have now been forced from their homes. The country also faces a man-made famine, one of the worst in decades.
Sudan is the world's largest humanitarian crisis, the world's largest hunger crisis, the world's largest displacement crisis, and the world's largest protection crisis.
This is the story of a nation torn apart for profit and power at an enormous human cost. April 2023. After 2 decades of civil war, the situation escalates. On one side is General Al-Burhan, the leader of the official Sudanese Armed Forces, or SAF. On the other side is his former deputy, General Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo, also known as Hemedti. He leads the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, or RSF. But who is this paramilitary force? The RSF originated as the Janjaweed. These Arab and Arab-speaking militias were SAF allies during the war in Darfur in the early 2000s. Hundreds of thousands of Darfuris from non-Arab communities were killed, who are now facing that same terror all over again. Burhan and Hemedti also joined forces in 2019 to oust dictator Omar al-Bashir. Protesters filled the streets demanding civilian rule, securing a short-lived power-sharing deal. But in 2021, the two generals launched yet another coup.
They toppled the civilian government that had been put in place and seized full control. But then this partnership that they had descended into a row when the head of the army wanted Hemedti to roll his forces into the army, and he didn't want to do that. Both of them wanted to be the ruler of Sudan.
There's a sort of Cain and Abel story here. They've been fighting fisted glove against the people of Darfur for decades before they turned on each other.
Khartoum became the first battleground between the two now rivals in April 2023. Soon after, clashes between the RSF and army forces erupted across the country. The campaign then shifted back to its brutal origins in Darfur. The strategic and symbolic target was al-Fasher, the last major city outside of RSF control in the region, where in October 2025, a terrifying siege was about to begin.
We warned the UN Security Council that this was going to happen 2.5 years ago. We told them that we were going to see a siege of al-Fasher and the slaughter if al-Fasher fell, and now we are seeing body piles visible from space. Al-Fasher has been surrounded by what we call a kill box. They've built an earthen wall to trap the people inside that completed just in the past few weeks. And as that wall completed, we knew the end was near. There were pickup trucks with guns mounted on the back, blocking alleys and side streets. Simultaneous to that, we see objects consistent with bodies appear. In all of these locations, none of these objects were visible 24 hours before. In some of the cases, we'll see a discoloration. The blood discolorations we're talking about are about 0.5 meter and immediately appear around a cluster of objects consistent with human bodies. We received word from the ground that 1,200 people have been killed in the first 24 hours. By nightfall, it was 10,000. By Tuesday, we couldn't reach those people anymore, and we haven't heard from them again.
RSF-linked accounts have shared footage on social media that appears to document their own atrocities. One verified video filmed from the Burma around al-Fasher shows dozens of bodies in the trench below. The RSF have denied targeting civilians, blaming rogue actors instead.
لجنة التحقيق تبدأ فوراً في تحقيق ومحاسبة أي جندي أو أي ضابط ارتكب جرم أو تجاوز حدوده في حق أي إنسان.
But for the survivors of al-Fasher, the memory of the massacres still raw.
زود 50 نفر 60 نفر في الشارع وايد 10 نقر 20 نقر طول تك 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 إلى ما بينتهي الشارع الثاني تخش في الشارع الثاني تك تك تك.
قتلوا الأساكن وهربوا العربات ودبوا الناس كل شيء
يعني كل شيء في الفاشر ده احنا شفناه أي حاجة شيء في الحياة ده شفناه.
And for those who did escape, the nightmare hasn't ended.
Thousands of people have made it out of the city, although 300,000 are thought to remain behind. But refugee camps are not exactly places of safety in Sudan because these too have been targeted in the past by the RSF.
Sudan is the world's largest displacement crisis, with around 12 million people uprooted inside and outside the country.
This is a humanitarian catastrophe.
But this is not an accident. It is a strategy.
This war in Sudan is a war against civilians. It's against civicness, it's against civilian rule. It is very much a war about fixing and entrenching a military state. And because of that, we have seen a whole gamut of different military tactics being used, from the more medieval tactics of siege, starvation as a weapon of war, rape as a weapon of war, the inducement of famine, all the way to the use of sophisticated drone warfare.
Despite the atrocities, the international reaction has been muted.
The West, for its part, is basically watching from the sidelines. The United Nations also is struggling to have an impact. The fall of al-Fasher might mark a turning point. What may happen is that pressure will be brought to bear on the UAE.
The conflict in Sudan has become more than a domestic power struggle. It has become a proxy war for rival nations and their ambitions abroad. Evidence is mounting linking the RSF's firepower to the UAE, though the Emiratis deny it. But they aren't alone. Libya provides the RSF with vital supply routes into Darfur. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia and Egypt back the SAF, which also receives drones from Iran and Turkey. Foreign mercenaries, including Colombians and in the past Russia's Wagner Group, have allegedly been spotted in the fight. And there are more countries which help facilitate both sides. Sudan's location makes it strategically valuable. It borders 7 countries and has a long coastline along the Red Sea. But there is another, more lucrative reason why foreign players are interested in Sudan: gold. Sudan is Africa's 3rd largest gold producer after South Africa and Ghana.
Gold is the main commodity that everyone's trying to get their hands on, including these outside players.
The UAE has the largest gold markets in the world, and there's been some reporting recently that shows that the UAE has been getting a large proportion of the gold that it has from Sudan. I think we can safely conclude that the gold is driving a lot of the weapons sales that we're seeing.
With no incentive to stop, peace feels further away than ever. Since the fall of al-Fasher, the RSF have seized more territory, including a key oil field. In November, a humanitarian truce collapsed within a week. Shortly after, the US stepped in to broker another deal.
His Majesty would like me to do something very powerful having to do with Sudan. We're going to start working in Sudan.
واستجابة للجهود الدولية المبذولة وعلى رأسها مبادرة فخامة الرئيس الأمريكي دونالد ترامب ومساعي الدول الرباعية والاتحاد الأفريقي والإيجاد، نعلن الآتي: أولاً، إعلان هدنة إنسانية تشمل وقف الأعمال العدائية لمدة 3 أشهر.
But after years of failed agreements, hope is running low.
It's a total red herring. The RSF has effectively figured out how to play the international community. They will agree to a truce, they will always agree to attend mediation and talks so that it's seen as the less belligerent party. And by extension, the Sudanese Armed Forces, which never really knows how to help itself, and has always pushed back against any talks and any mediations, looks like the much more belligerent party.
20 years ago, we had the Save Darfur movement. There were students in the streets, there were lawn signs, there were bracelets, there were celebrities, there were people getting arrested from the Sudanese embassy. How could we mobilize then, and why were we silent now?
This is a multi-tier conflict, and unless you can have a multi-tier political and ceasefire process, it's just simply not going to work.
We got to get back on the horse, and that horse is international law and protection of civilians. I'm going to sound like Churchill: the only thing worse is the alternative.